Decoding Rumi's Masnavi by Pirjan. The connection between the Greeks and the Chinese. The first story, dedicated to the topic of self-knowledge, is one of Rumi's great stories and must be studied seriously. As we said, we try to interpret Masnavi with Masnavi itself and bring stories from its books to illustrate these concepts. In the middle of this story, Rumi presents another story, each part of which needs a lot of explanation, especially in the middle of the story, discussing life before wearing the body and how to do it. These notions are very complex and require a great deal of attention. Some of it may be very different from our beliefs and knowledge, containing some facts. Of course, some are in harmony with today's science, but this is not a criteria for verifying them. And if they are true, it is not to say that it is due to harmony with modern science. We are only trying to explain Rumi's ideas in Masnavi. How the Sufi enjoined the servant to take care of his beast, and how the servant said, Lahal. A Sufi was wandering around the world till one night he came a guest in a monastery. We have to explain the story step by step to set the scene for the basic ideas in the next sessions. The word Sufi has a vague etymology. One of the meanings is wool, and the Sufi is the one wearing the woolen clothes, for it bothers the body. Others use the word Sufi to refer to gum of trees, which is chewed in the mouth as turpentine. Still, others consider it related to Greek philosophy, hence Sufi means the lover of wisdom. But Sufism in Iranian mysticism stands against philosophy and science. Among the ways to understand reality and life are thinking and reasoning. We use thought, reasoning, and science to discover the unknowns, and the ones utilizing reasoning and science are called scientists, and used to be called philosophers. Yet there were some in post-Islamic Iran, perhaps with an Indian background, who believed that knowledge and science might not grab the truth, because truth must be realized within the human. Their proposed methods was to realize the truth within the human, a fact not reachable by science. Sufi was the one who believed that the truth should be manifested in one's being instead of science and research. This is the big difference between the Sufis and the scientists. The Sufis believed that knowledge is useful in daily life, but Sufism and concordance must be utilized to understand reality. He had a beast. He tied it in the stable, while he himself sat at the top of the dais with his friends. Then he engaged with his friends in meditation. The presence of the friend and of God is a book, and more. Thus Sufi was the one who believes the truth should be manifested in one's being through the concordance instead of science and research. The Sufi's book is not composed of ink and letters. It is not but a heart white as snow. For the Sufis, one of the ways to attain the truth was to travel, and it involved many risks. They used to travel to reinforce their wills, not for recreation, facing wild animals and diseases. They were in touch with the universe, and they gathered together meditating. Rumi says that the Sufis have no special book for their ideas, and that their books are the hearts. It is important for them to have mutual understandings, to see each other through internal relationships. The modern life is so complex that simplicity may be better a solution rather than the complicated ones, which have made everything worse. A white heart, as we explained earlier, has nothing to do with religions or ideologies. It is the observing by which human being is able to understand the world. The human identity at present is the main problem of the Sufis. This is the first step in the course of mysticism. The human identity in the future is vague and idealistic, with no pattern in mysticism, because every human being is unique and cannot be compared to each other. The identity at present leads to the identity in the future. The method of religions is different, aiming to transform individuals through their patterns and to integrate them. Yet what matters in mysticism is self-knowledge, being the most difficult task for it requires a live and agile mind, not a dead one. Mysticism does not consider the human a constant entity, and the human cannot pause. There is no static mind within the human being, and it is always moving. The human discovers this move just when they live in the moment. Mystical ways are so different from scientific ones, and try to understand reality as is. It is not a lifestyle, rather a technique for understanding reality as it is. Reality cannot be understood through science because it is mostly about the words and not the deeds. Reality can be better understood when one can be the same as reality, and that is a great discovery, perhaps more important than inventions, yet ignored. Our mind might not comprehend that a concordance with reality is possible, but the Sufis see the ability in humans with no claim to be a religion. The human is afraid of seeing their true self, trying to run away from themselves because this thought control and observing seems difficult in the early stages. Here, Rumi suggests the relationship with others and zero time the Sufis claim to have experienced. However, they never insist on making others believe them. Mysticism does not create the need for anyone and leaves the human free to choose. In ancient Iran, mysticism has different methods, one of which was malamatia, the blamed. Mysticism in Arabic means cognition, and Hafiz and Shams Tabrizi were among the mystics of malamatia. These mystics were not seeking followers and were pursuing their own personal course. They were reluctant to be praised and idolized by others and preferred to be blamed rather than praised. They used to be antisocial and drink wine in public, which was the worst sin in their time. They did not give public lectures, but for certain elites, and it was so for they saw few people ready to embrace the truth. Hence they were called elites prophets. Shams and Rumi were among them. It is said that once Bayazid raises his head out of meditation and saw many people gathered around to follow him. He stood up and declared that he was God, only wearing clothes, and this blasphemy caused everyone to leave. He did this to be alone and not to have followers. An unhealthy mind thinks that affection is the same as love. Yet the mystics were never to seek approval. The scholar's provision consists of pen marks, written letters, and words. What is the Sufi's provision? Footmarks. Scientists transfer their knowledge through letters and words, and others add to the science by studying the written works, or at least keeping it. This is a good practice. The mystics, however, reinforce their senses and creativity through meditation. The Sufi stalks the game, like a hunter. He sees the musk deer's tracks and follows the footprints. Just as the hunter follows the footsteps of the deer and reaches the hunt, the mystic must follow the footsteps of reality as it is. The scientist sees, writes, and researches, and has talent, but the mystic must reinforce their sense rather than see it, and reinforce something called creativity. Talent means the abilities of the mind in the scientist, but the mind becomes creative only if it is not static, being in motion. Creativity in mysticism means the harmony and realization of reality within the human being, which is volatile in every moment. There are provisions of Sufism, and there is following the footprints throughout human life. One should ignore imitations and statements not being of human understanding. Regardless of superstitions and imitations, everything one understands by oneself will enhance the senses. For some, while the track of the deer is the proper clue for him, afterwards 'tis the navel muskland of the deer that is his guide. Anything arising out of the ego comes from partial reasoning, meaning that we may follow the word or the individual by imitation and without personal awareness. If we accept a word imitating someone because they are great people, we have become entangled in the false desires because we must say something that one has experienced, not necessarily endorsed by the elders, saints, or community. The false desires and imitations are the partial reason and may cause a human to fall. The complete reason is but the mainstream of the universe, working with the inactivity of partial reason. It is not affected by imitation and authority. Sometimes the human fluctuates between the two, but then a sense is created just like the deer's musk gland, and the human is led. The human beings may sometimes fail and be lost, but they can finally find the way. When he is given thanks for having been favored with knowledge of the track and has traversed the way, of necessity by means of that track he arrives at a goal. Rumi is not a man of thanksgiving nor of complaining. Thanksgiving is a time when humans use their abilities and do not ignore them. Thanksgiving also takes place when there are endurance and courage. The universe attracts human beings because it has an inner connection with them. To go one stage guided by the scent of the musk gland is better than 100 stages of following the track and roaming about. The universe is not what the human beings see, and human beings are neither isolated from the universe nor relating to it merely on the basis of their needs, just as they the rain for agriculture. The thought tries to isolate them from the universe. Mysticism regards human beings as an integrated entity, but captive to thought and a dull mind. In Sufism, of course, a dull mind has nothing to do with the scientific intelligence, as in physics, but it is the degree of mental understanding called consciousness. Understanding the inside is so important because it contributes to understanding the outside reality. Even sometimes one realizes that there is no inside or outside. To take one step toward the smell of the deer musk's gland is better than being lost in religions and thoughts. Mysticism has not materialized as long as one's being is not unified with reality. There is a story in the first book of the Masnavi about the Sufi interpretation by Rumi. Mystics go with knowledge and have experience and understanding. One does not become a mystic until their being is unified with the universe. Sufism is not a way of life, and one should not think that becoming a Sufi guarantees the ability to invent the airplane, for example. While Sharia and civil laws are some ways of life, mysticism is a technique for unifying with and understanding reality as it is, trying to connect the stream of human beings to the sea of the universe. Yet the mind and thought do not let the connection be understood. If a Sufi wants to become a pilot, they must be trained for that experience. Human beings must understand their own existence. The mystics do not bring about the relationship we consider with God and the deity, believing that everyone must understand and make ideas their own. For Rumi, God is the very projection of the mind, while mysticism is going to solve the problems and transform the humans with the technique. Most schools of thought are nothing but businesses, but mysticism is not a business, nor a religion, making saints a human model. The purpose of mysticism is to attain eternal peace and to become something that is different from the present, although we may not know the true nature. From the experience with the musk gland, everything changes. Buddha says the same and does not force anyone to follow him. The story of the contention between the Greeks and the Chinese in the art of painting and picturing. The Chinese said, "We are the better artists." The Greeks said, "The superiority in power and excellence belongs to us." "I will put you to the test in this matter," said the Sultan, "and see which of you are approved in your claim." The Chinese and the Greeks began to debate. The Greeks retired from the debate. The Chinese said, "Hand over to us a particular room, and let there be one for you as well." There were 2 rooms with door facing door. The Chinese took one, the Greeks took the other. The Chinese requested that the king give them 100 colors. The king opened his treasury. Every morning, by his bounty, the colors were dispensed from the treasury to the Chinese. The Greeks said, "No tints and colors are proper for our work. Nothing is needed except to remove the rust." They shut the door and went on burnishing. They became clear and pure like the sky. There is a way from many-coloredness to colorlessness. Color is like the clouds, and colorlessness is a moon. In the story of the Greeks and the Chinese, we see some symbols in which the Greeks symbolize the heart and the Chinese symbolize the thought. The Sultan is God, and the absolute reign of the universe within us. The streams of thought are the colors within us. We take these streams of thought and perceptions out of existence, but we do not understand the reality. We only understand the color that is our imagination. When the sky is cloudy, the light of the sun or the moon causes it to seem colorful, but when the sky is clear, it is colorless. All colors and thoughts can give way to colorlessness. No matter how much we are captivated by the chaos of thoughts and colors, we can remain in peace. It seems as if we are engaged in a fight within our minds, yet we can also achieve peace in silence. Whatsoever light and splendor you see in the clouds, know that it comes from the stars and the moon and the sun. When the Chinese had finished their work, they were beating drums for joy. The king entered and saw the pictures there. That sight, as he encountered it, was robbing him of his wits. Thus, what is seen as light emanates from the moon and the sun has no real existence. They are confusing thoughts everyone has inside them, which put them at war with others, creating problems for them. Confusing thoughts and imitated sciences, while necessary for daily life, are not realized within the human, covering the heart like a cloud. The Chinese symbolizes the science, but the Greek allows a sense of existence to fall on their hearts. Sufis refer to academic sciences as imitated sciences, but research is something that has to come to be in human existence. They suggest a way of understanding for that. Of course, human knowledge is useful, but the human has many potentials and can go beyond conventional knowledge. After that, he came towards the Greeks. They removed their intervening curtain. The reflection of those Chinese pictures and works of art struck upon these walls, which had made them pure from stain. All that he had seen there in the Chinese room seemed more beautiful here. 'Twas snatching the eye from the socket. The Chinese symbolize scientific knowledge and research, while the Greeks are involved with the heart. Everything we have come up with thought is better seen in the heart because it is being coordinated. Avicenna is said to have met Abu Sa'id in a public bath, and their discussion lasted 40 days. When Abu Sa'id was asked about Avicenna, "He has read what I had seen," he replied. Asked about Abu Sa'id, Avicenna answered, "He has seen what I have read." These are the differences between a Sufi and a scientist. The Sufis say that in the realm of Sufism, you must be free of thought, because the more you know, the more it'll support the thought and impede the functioning of the heart like a cloud. One must forget what one has learned in this realm, because it is not the realm of knowledge. The Greeks, O Father, are the Sufis. They are without independent of study and books and erudition. When one recognizes oneself through a particular system, the result is what that system has determined. In mysticism, a flight takes place whose direction and outcome are unclear, for no system has been designated. One just has to go and try it personally. It should not be assumed that in this realm we will eventually reach a certain pattern like Rumi. Observation is the most important thing, and the lack of desire and erasure of thought serve as polishing the heart and being. When we enter the realm, we must forget who we are because it does not matter. One of the Sufis' practices was that they were never asked about a person's name, religion, or occupation because the important thing was the internal connection between people, and these issues were related to intellectual communication and social relationships. The Greeks are a symbol of the Sufis, who polish the heart and see the human heart as a mirror reflecting the being. Polishing the heart means not condemning, that is, to see the tree as it is, regardless of its ugliness or beauty. In the matter of Sufism, one cannot make a judgment because it is the task of the Sharia. These examples are not fully comprehensible to the mind, but can bring the mind closer to the truth. But they have burnished their breasts and made them pure from greed and cupidity and avarice and hatreds. That purity of the mirror is, beyond doubt, the heart which receives images innumerable. The mirror is a very important symbol in Hafiz and Rumi's poetry. They consider human beings as possessed of a mind that could reflect the essence of a being. The universe is infinite, and it is reflected in this mirror, while the thought is finite. That Moses, the perfect saint, holds in his bosom the formless infinite form of the unseen reflected from the mirror of his heart. Although that form is not contained in heaven, nor in the empyrean, nor in the sphere of the stars, nor in the earth which it rests on the fish, because all those are bounded and numbered, yet is it contained in the heart? Know that the mirror of the heart hath no bound. Here the understanding becomes silent, or else it leads into error, because the heart is with him, or indeed the heart is he. The intellect here is flawed and unable to grasp the truth of existence. Therefore, one should not involve philosophical reasoning as it leads to misunderstanding and loss. In Sufism, the thought is incomplete, and one should not try to understand the existence through the way of living. As we said, we have to take a few steps in this way, but after a while, if we are serious, we will be blessed and things will be clear for us. The Greeks polished the heart. Polishing means not condemning, that is, not judging the landscape or the tree and seeing them as they are, and having no judgment about ugliness or beauty. The reflection of every image shines unto everlasting from the heart alone, both with plurality and without. Unto everlasting every new image that falls on it, the heart is appearing therein without any imperfection. They that burnish their hearts have escaped from the mere scent and color. They behold beauty at every moment without tarrying. They have relinquished the form and husk of knowledge. They have raised the banner of the eye of certainty. No idea that is clear in the human mind is eternal. Those who have polished their hearts understand the being and are happy. They have passed through the shell of science and understood the truth of being. Sometimes human beings see smoke and realize the existence of fire. Sometimes they see fire itself, and sometimes they are burned in the fire. There are these three kinds of knowledge about love, and the last one guarantees that the truth of love is understood by humans. Sufis realize the reality within themselves and do not use science. Thought is gone, and they have gained light. They have gained the throat, core, and essence, and the seas, ultimate source of gnosis. Death, of which all these others are sore afraid, this people, the perfect Sufis, are holding in derision. None gains the victory over their hearts. The hurt falls on the oyster shell, not the pearl. Though they have let go grammar and jurisprudence, yet they have taken up instead mystical self-effacement and spiritual poverty. Mystics laugh at death and are not afraid of it, because they do not consider the human body as anything but a set of cells. They welcome death. They abandon the science of grammar and jurisprudence and reach the peak of mysticism.